So the Chicago Bears just fixed a major problem, and you can argue that it was the problem. And the result of fixing this is that you're going to have some major contributors that are likely on the chopping block as minicamp is over and we head into training camp. So the Bears did something here. They targeted specific position groups for improvement during this first offseason of Ben Johnson's tenure. And we're not going to have what we had last year. Like, we had some players that we were saying during the season and before, man, I hope he becomes a starter. Man, I hope our starter doesn't get hurt because we don't have any depth here. Well, that ends now. And the first player I want to talk about is one that this was kind of kick-started by Luther Burden. And the player this most affects is Tyler Scott. I'm going to get into a few other players as well, but Burden could render third-year wideout and 2023 fourth-round pick Tyler Scott kind of obsolete this season. And this is here from Parker Hurley of Fansided. He wrote of Scott just recently, the team has a new head coach who did not draft him. So we're looking at the Bears adding multiple receivers. He should get pushed off the roster because we've got players like Luther Burden III, Devin DuVernay, and Miles Boykin above others. And we also have Zacchaeus that we signed. I mean, these guys serve in bigger special teams roles, and Tyler Scott really is useless on special teams. He doesn't do much there. And you can make a strong case that he's absolutely not even one of the 6 best receivers on this team. Now, personally, I want to see Scott make the team. He still has speed for days, but it just hasn't been great for him. And one area of the team that was a huge focus was the collection of pass catchers, right? Caleb Williams needs a cadre. He needs an absolute squad at wide receivers at his disposal in order to be successful here. So what did the Bears do in the draft? They used a first-round pick, number 10 overall, and got Colson Loveland in town. And then they drafted slot receiver Luther Burden III early in the second round, number 39 overall. Huge surprise that he was available. And he's going to fill, many are saying, including our head coach, that he might fill the St. Brown role in this offense. So Loveland's presence, that actually threatens tight end Cole Kmet's long-term security with the team. Kmet's going to be on the roster. I think we're going to ball out in 2 tight end sets. It's probably going to favor more 12 personnel if that happens. And that doesn't help Tyler Scott. No special teams involvement. He's going to play his 3rd NFL season at the age of 24, carries a cap hit of just $1.2 million this year. That absolutely might help him. That might work in his favor as far as retaining this roster spot. So we're looking at him appearing in all 17 regular season games as a rookie, and then he earned 4 starts that year as well. It was looking pretty promising. He saw 32 targets, had 17 receptions for 168 yards in his rookie season, but then he played just 11 games, no starts last year, made only a single catch for 5 yards. Frankly, I don't know what the coaching staff saw or if they saw anything last year. They're super incompetent, but he didn't really get a chance to show what he could do last year at all. There were some rumors coming out of the offseason that he has a hard time tracking the ball still, and he's just a speed guy. I mean, that was kind of evident if you look back to that Justin Fields game against the Lions. There was like a back-breaking play that would have won the game, in my opinion, but that was an instance that Tyler Scott missed up his timing with his feet, didn't track the ball well, huge drop, but I don't think that's indicative completely of who he is as a player, but that's a particular play that I remember. So he saw his offensive snaps drop from 439 in 2023 to just 20 last season. Special team snaps also took a dip from 55 to 35. So Bill Zimmerman of Windy City Gridiron, great source. You guys check them out. They are really the gold standard with Chicago Bears coverage. He made his case for Scott as a cut candidate early this month, and I'll just quote directly from him. Scott is in for an uphill battle out of training camp due to his deficiencies on special teams. If Scott does not make the roster, it's probably going to be a long shot. He would even get stashed on the practice squad because of his inability to play special teams. So this might be another instance of a fourth round pick, just never quite working out. I mean, he was some draft analyst's favorite sleeper coming into the draft a couple of years ago, but year two, the team did try to shift him from his outside role more into the slot, didn't pick it up fast enough, and there's a new head coach. It is probably time to say goodbye to Tyler Scott. Even that pains me a lot, but I think it's time. I think it's going to happen, and it's not a strong case that he's going to be one of the top 6 receivers on this roster. So that leads me to another disappointment here. Man, this is kind of negative on this show. Let's talk about defensive tackle Zach Pickens. He could also face a cut here. Another recent and relatively prominent draft pick in danger of losing his spot. And Chicago focused primarily on strengthening the interior of this defensive line in both free agency and the draft. That could mean that there's just no longer room. There's no more hopium on Zach Pickens because Chicago added Shamar Turner in the draft. Grady Jarrett came into town. Now Andrew Billings. Thankful that he is healthy. That is just huge. He is such the perfect nose for this defense. And even when Billings was out, the team leaned to Chris Williams more than Zach Pickens last year. And Chris Williams is still on the roster. So a little bit more about Pickens. He has 2 years remaining on his $5.8 million rookie contract. He has appeared in 26 games over 2 seasons. Excuse me. Starting 3 of those games, played a total of 492 defensive snaps on that time with the team. Really, no player understands that more than Zach Pickens, the need to perform. 3rd year with the team, yet has little in the way of stats to show for it. This is make or break, right? This camp. And Chicago, this isn't helping his cause because Chicago hasn't really seen much of Pickens until recently. I think it was Tuesday of minicamp. And even then, when he returned to practice, he didn't last long. He played a few snaps and he just came off the field. No further word if Pickens re-aggravated an injury or exactly why he left practice, but just not a good sign for a player that is on the roster bubble. So he was number 64. That's a pretty high pick in the 2023 NFL draft. He appeared in all 17 games as rookie, making 20 tackles, 2 quarterback hits, half a sack. And then he just really got hit by the injury bug. He managed to make 3 starts during that time, as I highlighted, racked up 19 tackles, 2 quarterback hits, and a sack, but only a 45.5 grade PFF grade. That ranks 174 out of 219 defensive linemen. I mean, Ryan Poles saw something in him, but Johnson wasn't around once again when the pick was made, and I think it's very well that we're going to cut bait on him. So much defensive line competition. Jervon Dexter's on the rise. Andrew Billings is returning from injury. Grady Jarrett, Shamar Turner. We are just absolutely loaded on the defensive line. And most notably, Jarrett, a 10-year veteran, spent his entire year with the Atlanta Falcons. Jarrett should only help Dexter grow. And this duo is just a really strong defensive front. And don't forget about Andrew Billings. Maybe a veteran like Grady Jarrett can take Zach Pickens under his wing, kind of get him up to speed, show him what it is to be a pro on the field and off the field. I'm hoping for that because Zach Pickens, he had a lot of qualities coming into the draft, and there's not really much of a gap between him and Jervon as far as draft capital. I'd love to see both of them make the team. And let's kind of finish with a guy that I would like to make the team because he's a good depth piece, but it hasn't quite worked out. Ryan Poles has been seemingly obsessed with Ryan Bates during his time here, but a sunk cost might be a sunk cost here. Bates never lived up to what Poles thought he could do, and now the team went out of their way to make sure that there's no way that he's going to start. So, in addition, like Luke Newman in the draft as well, that might make Bates absolutely expendable. I believe he has a degenerative shoulder problem, a shoulder injury that doesn't seem to heal properly, and he just hasn't been healthy during his time with the Bears. another summer. Any sort of setback with him could cause him to be off the roster sooner rather than later. I'd love for him to be healthy and provide quality, versatile depth. We'll see what happens here. So not my usual positive show, but it actually is a positive show because we now have players in place that these fringe guys are no longer going to be forced into a starter's role. And that perhaps has been the biggest problem on this roster, and I think the Chicago Bears have fixed it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Bear down. Happy Father's Day, and I will continue to be here with Chicago Bears news on the daily. See ya.